A tiny room, no windows, no conversations, no sunlight. No one touches you. No one calls your name. Only the sound of your heartbeat and your own thoughts. Now imagine living like that for months or years, not in a horror movie, but in real life. And the most terrifying part isn't the prison itself. It's how isolation slowly begins, destroying the human brain. Human beings were never designed to live completely alone. Our brains are built for social connection. We need eye contact. We need voices. We need the feeling that we exist in someone else's world. That's why even simple conversations help stabilize our emotions more than we realize. Researchers call this social reality testing, a psychological process where other people help us confirm whether our thoughts and perceptions are rational. But when all of that disappears, something inside us starts to change. At first, the silence is only uncomfortable. Then, stress hormones begin to spike. The body enters a constant state of alertness. You start losing sleep. You lose your sense of time. One day feels like a week. 1 week feels like a month. Then strange things begin to happen. Some people hear footsteps when nobody is there. Some see shadows moving in the corner of the room. Some begin talking to themselves just to hear a human voice. And this is where things become dangerous. Because when someone experiences forced isolation for too long, their brain slowly starts turning against them. Inside the human brain is a system called the limbic system. It controls fear, anxiety, and stress. Under prolonged isolation, this system becomes hyperactive. Fear intensifies. Anxiety becomes overwhelming. Negative emotions no longer shut off. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, memory, and moral judgment, begins to weaken. In other words, logical thinking slowly fades, while emotional instability grows stronger. That's why solitary confinement often leads to depression, panic attacks, hallucinations, paranoia, PTSD, and suicidal thoughts. Some prisoners have said, after a few months in solitary, I became afraid of my own mind. And the frightening part is, many of these people never committed violent crimes. Some were placed in solitary confinement simply for arguing with guards, talking back, or breaking minor prison rules. But here's the real twist. Solitary confinement was not originally created as torture. In the late 1700s, Quaker groups in the United States believed that if prisoners were left alone in silence, they would reflect, repent, and become better people. That's even where the word penitentiary comes from, a place for penitence and reflection. Sounded humane, but reality turned out very differently. Charles Dickens once visited prisons using this system, and he described solitary confinement as worse than any torture of the body. Over time, research in neuroscience and psychology began proving something disturbing. Social isolation does not rehabilitate people, it destroys them. Today, the United Nations classifies prolonged isolation as a form of psychological torture, because human beings need social connection to maintain mental stability. Without it, a person's identity slowly begins to collapse, and sadly, this is still happening every single day. In the United States alone, more than 120,000 prisoners have lived in solitary confinement. Go to 24 hours a day, inside cells barely larger than a parking space. No natural light, no meaningful human interaction, no freedom. Many prisoners, released from solitary confinement, struggle to readjust to normal life. Crowds trigger anxiety. Conversations feel overwhelming. Concentration becomes difficult. Trust becomes fragile. Some former prisoners say, "My body left the cell, but my mind never did." Meanwhile, countries like Norway chose a different path. Less punishment, less isolation, more rehabilitation programs, more education, more therapy, more human connection. And the result? One of the lowest recidivism rates in the world. Because maybe people do not become better through isolation. Maybe they become better through connection. If you think solitary confinement is simply being alone, remember this: voluntary solitude can heal. Forced isolation can destroy the human mind. And sometimes, the cruelest forms of torture leave no scars on the body, only fractures inside the brain. If this video made you think, like, subscribe, and share to spread awareness about the psychological effects of isolation and prison mental health. Because sometimes, the thing humans need most to survive is another human being.